I just found proof that my pregnant wife has relapsed. Hi, I'm going to put a trigger warning here because this contains mentions of drug use. My wife is addicted to heroin. I said it. I created this account just to be able to admit this somewhere. I have a hard time saying it even though I've been to many Naranon meetings. I used to be able to say it easily, back when I was seething with anger toward her the first time we did this song and dance. I have a regular Reddit account that I sometimes post in a parenting sub on, and I don't really want this tied to my account. Maybe I will post about it there when I'm ready, but this isn't something I readily share or am ready to share. I thought I was past having to talk about this all the time or think about it every single day. When I went through this with her the first time, there was a period where I probably only really talked to other loved ones of addicts because they were the only people who could understand what I was going through. I'm sorry to say I've lost touch with all of them. I've just been sitting here on my couch crying for 15 minutes. I felt like she's been off the past few days. She fell asleep early tonight, so I took the opportunity to search the house. I found her supplies hidden in various places. I already knew, but I needed the proof. So I tore the house apart until I found proof. She strategically placed the items in different places, not all together. I feel oddly vindicated, since she kept assuring me she hadn't taken anything. It starts to make you feel crazy. In a weird way, I wanted to find proof, just so I wouldn't feel so crazy anymore. On the other hand, I didn't want to find anything. She has a long history of drug use, mainly pain meds and heroin. It started when she was a teenager and was prescribed pain meds after a bad injury. She was a normal girl then, not into anything bad or illegal, not hanging around with people who did drugs, not somebody you'd think would wind up a heroin addict by the time she got to college. She got hurt playing a high school sport. She got addicted and started buying pills on the street until that became too expensive and she turned to heroin. I didn't know her then. I met her when she was 26 and she'd been clean for only about 6 months. She'd been clean off and on for years, but only for short times. She shouldn't have been dating me, or anyone for that matter, since they generally advise not dating anyone for a year when you're in recovery. I've never been a drug user. I knew very little about this world before meeting her. She didn't tell me about it until we'd been dating for probably a month or so. It was a huge shock. She seemed totally normal, so sweet, so pretty and healthy looking, had a good job, was smart, and just seemed together. We got married a year after meeting. I've kicked myself so many times for being so stupid, so unrealistic. I loved her so much, still do, but now my love feels polluted or tarnished. We wanted kids, but decided to wait a while. I at least realized she needed to be in recovery for a longer period of time before we took that step. She got pregnant after we'd been married about 3 years. She'd been clean for nearly 5 years, and things in our lives were going great. My career was going so well. Her life was back on track. She was doing really well and being promoted at work. We had a dog that she doted on. We bought a new house. It was early on in her first pregnancy when I discovered she was using again. It came out that she'd started using again shortly before getting pregnant. We separated legally and lived separately as well, with me paying for everything. She continued to use heroin for months while pregnant, but finally entered an outpatient program for pregnant women. So I'm really rambling now, sorry. She followed the instructions during the later half of her pregnancy, was under a specialist's care, had to take prescribed opiates since quitting cold turkey while pregnant can be more dangerous, but eventually got clean from everything within a few months of our child's birth. By some huge miracle our baby was born pretty healthy, small but within normal range. She suffered from very mild neonatal abstinence syndrome, with mild symptoms that lasted a few days. It was still excruciating to watch her endure, but it could have been much worse. I had primary custody and still lived separate from her, but she had regular contact with the baby, always supervised. She did everything she was told to do, passed all the drug tests, went to every meeting. That was for years ago. Initially, I didn't plan to stay married to her. I was disgusted by what she did while pregnant with our child. I'm still disgusted by it but don't think about it like I used to. Over the past 4 years, we have slowly repaired our relationship and marriage. Again, things have been going great. She made a huge effort. She was sticking with her recovery program and really seemed dedicated to it. She got really into whole body health, physical and mental, and seemed like the best version of herself I've known. This pregnancy wasn't planned. She's about 12 weeks pregnant with our second child. She was supposedly on birth control. I was scared. Her being pregnant again was giving me some sort of PTSD. We had the talk early on. I couldn't deal with what she put me through last time, and if she was tempted to do anything she shouldn't or if she did it just one time to please tell me, it'd be better to tell me than to hide and lie about it. It wasn't until this week that I knew something was off. There's a certain look in her eyes, her voice changes, her mannerisms change, even her smell changes. I can just see the smallest signs of when she's used any amount of something. I swore I would never let myself be as oblivious as I was the first time around. She's not been nodding out or anything like that in front of me, but I just knew. She's been getting home earlier than me due to some classes she's taking for a job-related certification. I think she's using during that gap and it's sort of worn off by the time I get home, but the signs are still evident enough for me. I haven't woken her up. I wanted to scream at her. Instead, I just sat in the living room and cried. I don't know how I survived this the first time, but I don't think I'll survive it a second time. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. It's heartbreaking to think you were finally in a good place and now this happens. Addiction is brutal and sneaky. Your feelings are valid, and it's okay to feel angry and hurt. Take care of yourself and your child first. She needs help, but you can't carry this alone. I feel so many things I almost can't make sense of it all right now. I feel angry, hurt, betrayed, guilty, the list goes on. Commenter 2. With her previous history, and an addict-born baby already, I would contact her OB right now. She needs early intervention this time, before she needs daily opioids to stay stable. My heart goes to you. My oldest son is an opioid addict. Everything goes for him. I love him more than I love myself. Any parent knows what I'm talking about. But if he weren't my son, I would have turned my back a long time ago. Dealing with an addict is extremely life-draining. If I were in your shoes, I would contact her doctor immediately, take your child, and tell her she needs to go to inpatient rehab right now. Keep in contact with her is best for the pregnancy, but no romantically. Support her as you would a family member that you want to succeed, because you want her to. She will always be your children's mother. Don't make any decisions regarding your marriage, other than to don't be sexually active with her until the birth of the baby, but make all necessary arrangements in case you need to file for divorce later on. It sucks, I know it does, but life gave you these cards. Learn to play with them. Your children are your priority right now. I don't know what my full plan is yet, but she just left the house. She has an exam for the certification she's been going to classes for, so I decided not to bring anything up this morning. Plus, our daughter doesn't need to be present when I confront her. I've taken today off work because I knew mentally I wouldn't be able to concentrate. Plus, I was worried she'd pick our daughter up from daycare early before I got home, and I can't let her get high with our daughter there at home. It's still early where we are, so her doctor's office isn't open yet. Commenter 3. I'm so sorry you're going through this. I don't have much in the way of advice, but I'll be 25 years clean from heroin in a couple months. It can be done. It can be beaten. There is some hope. Wishing you and your family peace and healing. Congratulations on your recovery time. As I'm sure you know, statistically your story is not typical for heroin addicts. And I'm not naive to that. I didn't think I lived in a world where I was letting myself believe, but not my wife. I guess I have been living in that world. Update, I posted recently about discovering my wife has relapsed on heroin. She's 12 weeks pregnant with our second baby, although this one wasn't planned. I'm having a pity party tonight, so what better to do than post here? But really, I'm not ready to share with our family and friends yet. I will not be enabling her by covering up for her. I just want to get my ducks in a row. I know I'm not really alone, but for some reason late at night in days like this I feel like the loneliest person in the world. My parents know that she relapsed because I told them. The day after I found my wife's drug gear hidden throughout the house, I immediately moved our 4-year daughter and myself to my parents' house. Yeah, I know in an ideal world she'd be locked out of our house, but doesn't work that way when she's also legally an owner of the house. Plus, one thing I learned the first time around when I was dealing with her addiction is that I can really only control my reactions. Trying to control her will only drive me crazy. So the easiest, fastest, most stress-free way to get my daughter out of that setting was to quickly move into my parents' home. I am planning to go get a truckload of our things later this week. I've informed her family that she's relapsed and that I've moved out of the house. They can do with that information what they want. I filed for divorce today. Luckily, I have a friend who is a lawyer, not family law, and he was able to set me up very quickly with a good family law attorney. Well, I shouldn't say it's officially filed because there are still a few paperwork steps to be done, but it's imminent and in good hands. After meeting with the attorney, I went to be calm and sobbed like a baby. I admit I cried for a good hour tonight too. I'm not usually a crier like this. I'm not ashamed to admit I've been doing a lot of it lately. Otherwise, I'm full of rage. I'm angry at her and angry at myself for giving her another chance. I'm angry because it makes me feel like a fool. When she lies to me and acts as if I'm some idiot who can't clearly see all of the signs and how high she is right there in front of me, I get so mad that I have to remove myself because I don't know that I can control myself. I'm sad for her, for me, for our daughter, for this unborn baby she has mother agreed to abort. It's really fucking depressing when you're trying to convince your wife to abort your child because she's such a mess. I should have divorced her just as I planned to do after our daughter was born. We were already legally separated for a while and it would have been easy to just push that in through to an official divorce. It's like I can't breathe. Then there's the whole issue of our daughter. Courts don't automatically strip somebody of custody because they're on drugs. She won't completely lose access to our daughter. She may even get unsupervised access to our daughter. What am I supposed to do then? I left all of her drug supplies on the table with a note for her to find when she got home, after my daughter and I had already left. Then I went over there today. I actually went to get some of my personal belongings and she was there in the middle of the day sleeping in bed when she was supposed to be working. I lost it. Nothing physical, just my temper. I asked her how she liked my note. She was clearly high. She denied it. I found proof right there in the bathroom. She still tried to deny it. She said she doesn't have to abort our baby if she doesn't want to. So she's going to put us through this again? I told her exactly what I think about her and I left. I felt bad and there's part of me that wants to help her, but emotionally I don't think I can. I have to remove myself. I can't get sucked in again or I won't be able to be a good dad to our daughter. And by sucked in I mean just sucked into the emotional turmoil, the constant worrying, the taking everyone on by myself for her sake. I'm not a heroin user and have never tried the stuff and never will. Anyway, I'm glad to have my daughter because I feel like she's this positive light keeping me going right now when I really don't want to keep going. I know I'm making the right decision to divorce, but it doesn't feel good right now. I feel like my life just imploded overnight. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Anger is just sadness and disappointment. It's good to cry. It gets all that pain out. I'm really sorry you're going through this and I'm also really sorry, but she's going through this. I doubt she wanted her life to turn up this way. It's too bad she has so many people that she's hurting. I'm glad you got your daughter out and you're safe. Hopefully you don't have a problem trying to get your half of the house. If she's not working, I doubt she's going to be able to pay mortgage payments. Yeah, for legal purposes, I won't discuss my plan regarding the house as far as what I'm requesting in the divorce, but I hope it can be resolved quickly. I make all the payments on the house, but that doesn't mean much. Commenter 2. As a caseworker, I urge you to go to CPS immediately. Be a walk-in and refuse to leave until you speak with a triage caseworker to help you report. Get ahead of it now because she is going to birth this baby addicted to drugs if she does not abort it or it's a stillbirth. There's many things that will haunt me when I die, but nothing more than the screams of a baby born addicted to drugs. Get yourself assessed as a good father in CPU's eyes because they will be going through your life and your daughter's with a fine-tooth comb.